big news, I would say, is that the market continues to grow significantly. There was some data issued recently by the insurance industry that said there's now approaching 500,000 insurance telematics-based policies out there. Majority of those are going to be obviously young drivers. So the market's increasing significantly. Ingenie were one of the first movers. It was us, Carrot, Two in the Box, Drive Like a Girl, Marmalade. We were the companies that came to market specifically with the young driver proposition around telematics, and they were 5 or 6 years ago. You look now, there's about 16 insurers that will offer a similar product. I think the biggest benefit has been for the customer. If we were here 4 or 5 years ago, people would have still been complaining about insurance premiums being, you would have heard quotes of £3,000, £4,000, £5,000, £6,000 and above. As long as you do your shopping, a young novice driver is now going to get insurance for probably less than £2,000. Still high, but they do still have quite a lot of crashes compared to older drivers. Our community, 90% of our customers are teenagers, and the average premium for us is around about £1,500. And also, interestingly, the renewal premium, once you got through that first year, is around about, on average, it's about £900. And that's because crashes have reduced significantly. I mean, the Minister started today saying 20%, 1 in 5 will have a crash in the first 6 months. I'm never going to use that stat again after I've heard Sean today. That won't be in our marketing anymore. All I can say is within our community, it's 1 in 8. It's 1 in 8 that will have a crash in the first 6 months. I think my final point, and also Sean touched on media, I've done thousands of interviews about it, TV, radio, journalists, and for the first 3 or 4 years, it was all negative. They were totally trying to catch you out. It's a speed camera in disguise. You're not treating the customer fairly. All the negative angles. Every single interview I do now, they're basically saying, how's it going for you? You know, so I think that has been a significant sea change, and being a marketeer, yeah, it's a game changer. It's disrupted the market.
Good. So you think there's been a much more positive perception of telematics now than there was 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, undoubtedly. And 1/3 of young drivers getting on the road now are insured using telematics. So yeah, I think the big change has happened.
Right, let's go on to some questions. So the first one, I like this question. I think it's a very good question, and one certainly that I would have asked myself. And it's from Katie Brimley from Essex County Council, who asks whether it's fair to describe telematics as insurance for the comfortably off and responsible parents, rather than those that perhaps need it most of all.
It's a very popular misconception, and it's completely and utterly totally wrong. Yes, people will buy for different reasons. Some families will be quite focused on road safety and the peace of mind for the son and daughter, but categorically most people buy because it's cheaper. There is no question about that. I mean, to give you some data to justify the misconception, majority of the cars that we insure are aged between 10 and 14 years old, and the average age of the vehicle that we insure is less than £2,000. So no, category, it's a product there for everybody.
Has that changed in the last? What I'm saying is when you first developed and launched telematics insurance, was it at that time?
No, I think from the beginning it was always a misconception. People are buying it. I'd love to think that people are buying it because it's making them safer and better drivers. It does in the end, but people buy it because it's much cheaper.
Just one other question before we go to the next one. Is there any data to show that telematics insurance policies are more popular in particular parts of the country or in urban areas compared with rural areas?
It's a difficult one to answer because we're a broker, we're an intermediary, and we have a panel of underwriters. And to be fair, our customer appetite, our spread of customers is very much dictated by our underwriting appetite. So, no, I could not point to any data that suggests, no, we'll see. I mean, if you were to see a map of our take-up, it's a complete even spread. A bit more in the cities where there's more people living, obviously, but no, but there's a very...
no discernible pattern?
No, not at all.
Okay, that's great, thanks for that. Right, the next question is from Alan Kennedy, researcher GB. Obviously, you're a fan of telematics, you're bound to be, you're in the business, but what are the downsides? Are there any downsides that you would be prepared to admit to, if you like, of telematics insurance?
Well, I'm a marketeer, so I'm going to say that the insurance premiums are halved, crashes are reduced, parents are getting peace of mind. What is there not to love? But putting that, taking my marketing hat off for a second, I would say from an insurer point of view, the disappointing aspect has been retention, being able to retain the customer. I think a lot of business cases when insurers came to market were prefaced on being able to keep the customer for a long time, because it is a niche segment who do more shopping. They're good on the internet, they know how to use a comparison websites, and a 5% saving or 10% saving when you're paying £2,000 is quite significant. And I think we all thought we would keep the customer for a bit longer. We're not. They're still going back onto the aggregator every year and having a look. The other thing they're doing, which is most disappointing, is they're insuring without a box as quickly as they can. And impairments seem to be carried with them. I compare it to stabilisers on a bike. You know, you've got those stabilisers on the bike, you've learned to drive, you've learned to ride the bike. If you take them off a bit too quickly, then we all know what's going to happen. And I think that, again, this is a price pressure thing, because the cost between box and non-box insurance for a young novice driver is about 30% difference on average. So when you go onto a comparison website, most of the prices that you're seeing at the top of the screen are going to be for telematic propositions. You're going to have to go quite low down the screen to find non-box. Once you get through that first year, and of course telematics is helping you get through that first year more frequently, then the cost benefit narrows quite considerably. As I said, there's about 16 of us who really play in this market for year one drivers. Once you've then got 1 year's no claims discount, there's about 50 insurers who really want to try and get you. And once you've got 2 years no claims discount, it gets even. So the cost benefit case narrows very quickly as you get into year two or year one, year two and onwards. So I'm disappointed that the parents aren't getting more involved to think, actually, no, this is really good, this is working. If you've done it the right way, telematics is a coach, it's a co-pilot, it's not a speed camera in disguise. So they're taking the stabilisers up a bit too quickly.
What can you do then to influence it? Because you must want to influence it. So it must be an issue that vexes you.
I think you can't try and incentivise it financially even further. Let's be honest with you, the prices have come down an awful lot. They're not going to keep coming down at the rates. If anything, it might hit a bit of a ceiling. Seen the right word. That IPT, chances put a little bit more. Okay, not as much as we thought he was going to be. He's put that up again. General, inflation around claims. So you might start to see them crop up. So you can't expect us to be doing more financial incentives. I think what we've got to do is, I think the good players, the companies, the insurers, not just us that I mentioned at the beginning, are very good at treating the customer fairly and making it very clear how our product works. We don't leave it in the small print. What you've then got is a lot of the industry are suddenly, oh damn, we better get in on this. We did 2 years of research before we launched. Insurers who then suddenly come to market because they're losing market share maybe haven't quite done the same level of research, and they're making a few schoolboy errors. The curfew type model, the sort of you get fined if you have a speeding event, and that's in the small print. They do tarnish the industry. So it's the industry's job to be good marketeers and explain the positives of telematics insurance.
Okay, let's rattle on. So the next question was submitted by Paul Caddick, who's the editor of Intelligent Instructor, and it relates to how can you incentivise more young drivers to take up telematics insurance. And he suggests you look at a reduction in the starting price. So that if their driving has improved so much, why can't you lower the price more and then go the other way around and make the premium more expensive if they prove not to be safe?
Well, I think we've done it. I think we've got off to a very good start and we've dramatically reduced the premiums. Don't assume all insurers are having a good ride at the moment. There are underwriters out there who haven't got their pricing right. They're just having to compete with the rest of the market and set a price benchmark, and they're suffering big losses. So, it isn't a win-win-win for everybody at the moment. If you then looked at the other psychology of, or why don't we give bigger discount up front and then take it away, that psychology doesn't work. I can only speak for Ingenie that we have a starting price that's much lower. You can then, in the first year of driving, earn a further 21% discount. We're still one of the insurers where we'll also put the premium up, and that can go up by 10%. We're very honest about that. You know, we don't try and catch you out, and you get lots of feedback via your app, and you get plenty of notice to say, look, in the next month or two, if you keep driving like this, your premium can go up to this. Those drivers that do see their premium go up generally leave us.
So what you're saying is that the whole proposition doesn't work if you started low and
No, because the minute they start to see the premium's going to go up, there's too much competition out there. They'll go to somebody who doesn't put the premium. I mean, we're going to stand by that. We're still, I think, probably the only insurer who will put your premium up. But we've done our research, we've done our focus groups, and we think it still works.
Okay, good. Right, so the next question, and this is another journalist, they're good at asking questions, aren't they? This one relates to, does it really make, telematics really make drivers better or just slower?
Yeah. Well, look, driving to the speed limit is a legal requirement. Driving to the speed limit doesn't mean you're driving slowly. And it's a speed limit, the speed limits are set for an absolute reason. You have to think, people have to think that we're not speed hammer in disguise, that we are a coach, we are a co-pilot. Our whole raison d'etre is that we give you education, we give you feedback, and we give you financial incentives to stay engaged and do better. There is more to safe driving than speed, accelerating, braking, and cornering, but they also tend to be, if we see poor behaviours in those areas, they do actually, they do speak out to other areas of your driving.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a fair point. What about the issue of parents? Is this another myth that parents are often against telematics fitted into a shared car because it will highlight the way that they drive? I mean, is that an issue or a problem?
We get a lot of complaints saying, well, it was my brother and sister that borrowed the car for the weekend, or a lot of cases say, well, it was mum and dad, and we say, don't care. We ensure how the car is driven.
Yeah.
We make that absolutely clear. So it's your responsibility as a family to drive that vehicle safely. I thought that the Minister might have touched on it. I thought he might touch on it a bit more today, because I think the other low-hanging fruit is parents. Parents play such a significant role. I mean, I'm the worst person to go to a dinner party with at the moment. You ask me what I do for a living and I'm off. And so I get to anecdotally speak to a lot of parents saying, whose son or daughter are just getting on the road for the first time, and I ask them saying, how's it going, what sort of decisions you making? And the only thing they can really talk about is that they've written the cheque.
Right.
They've got the right number of lessons, they've got a nice car, they've got it insured. As soon as you start giving them a few other tips and tactics about things to think about, well, big light bulb goes off. I haven't thought about that. Why aren't I being told that? So we launched a thing on our website a while ago called the Parents Guide. It gets 50,000 hits a month now. And we think it's been so successful. We think there is so much that we can do. We've also looked at the data that where we can see that more than one account is set up to receive the driving feedback, generally implying it's the parent or the guardian, the crash reduction is about another 30%. So we're going a little bit further, saying, we're doing our bit as an insurer with the legal touch point, so we've got that touch point. We're in the process of developing a Parents Manifesto at the moment to sort of set out our guideline of what we think parents can be doing.
I'm not going to come back with further questions because we're desperately running out of time, but the next question relates to combining telematics with further training, advanced driver training. This is something that the IAM, I think, have suggested. Whether your data could be used to design bespoke lessons for people. What's your view on that?
I think there's no doubt it would be beneficial, but here's the reality: who's going to pay for it? The insurers are not going to pay for it. I mean, don't have a misconception. We operate on very, very small margins, so there's no margin in there for us to do it. We could encourage the driver and the family to do it. I think the take-up would be quite minimal, and if we made it mandatory to say you've got to have another lesson for us to continue to insure, there's too much choice. They'll leave us and they'll go and insure somebody else.
Another question, not quite the same question, but what about making telematics compulsory for
No.
drivers?
I think everyone's expecting us to say, oh, yes, but absolutely no. The reason why it works is because it's an opt-in, and it has to continue to be an opt-in. What the industry has to do is to continue to be very good at explaining what are the benefits, that we're not a speed camera in disguise, that actually we are a coach. And the other thing is that people worry about, what happens in the event of a crash? Are you going to refuse my claim? that doesn't happen. We can't refuse your claim because we can only refuse your claim if you've been doing fraudulent activity, i.e. you're just lying. But most of the time we're using our data, we're using the data to come to the defence of our insured against someone who's making a false claim against us.
We are out of time, I think. Is that right, Richard?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.